Hello everyone, in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to create object throwing system with prediction path in Unreal Engine 5. But before we start, please like this video and subscribe my channel for more Unreal Engine tutorials. Thank you. Alright, for this tutorial I'm going to use this throwing animation asset, and first I'm going to create some animations from this asset. So first I select this asset and I create a duplicate with Ctrl and D, and I name it throw loop. Now I open it up, and here first I set this timeline on frame 18. Now I right click here, and first I remove frames from 0 to 18, and now here again I right click and I remove from frame 1 to frame 49. So now here I have this single frame, and here I search for loop and I set loop to true. Now I close this asset, and again I created another duplicate from this throwing animation asset, and I name it throw anim. Now I open it up, and here I place this timeline on frame 18, and here I right click and I remove all the frames from 0 to 18, and here exactly at this position where this throwing ends I right click again, and now I remove frames from 17 to 49. So now I have this throwing animation. Alright, now I create any montage from both these animation assets, just like this. Now I open up this throwing animation, and here I place this timeline on this frame, and here I right click and I add a new montage notify, and I name this notify, for example, throw notify. Now I open up my character blueprint, which in this case it is BP underscore third person character. And here inside the viewport section, from this component section, I hit this add icon and I add a new static mesh, and I name it ball. Now I drag and drop it on my mesh component, so it will be child of my character's mesh. And here I'm going to attach it to a socket, and here I search for my hand right socket. And now here I pause the animation, and I place this ball static mesh exactly inside my character's hand. But before that I'm going to insert a static mesh to this component, and as you can see here I have this tennis ball model, and now here I search for my tennis ball static mesh. Now I scale it down to 0.15, and I try to place it in a correct position exactly inside my character's hand. Alright, and once I feel that I'm satisfied with location of this static mesh, I can remove this mesh from this component, and I resume the animation. I set pause animes to false. Okay, now I compile and I open up event graph, and here inside my event graph I right click and add a new input key, for example G key. Here I search for G key. Now first I drag and drop my ball component, and here I drag a node and search for set a static mesh. And here I select my tennis ball, and after that I drag and drop my mesh component, and here I search for play montage. And now I should play my throwing loop montage, and here I set play rate to 0, so it will be played as a loop. And from released section again I first drag and drop my mesh, and here I drag a node and search for play montage, and I connect it to release section of this input. And from this execution pin on notify begin I drag a node, but before that I'm sorry, I should drag and drop my ball component, and here I search for set a static mesh, and here I set it to none, and I connect this on notify begin to this node. Alright, now I compile and run the game, and as you can see, if I hold G, this throwing pose will be played. And okay, now there is a problem, and as you can see, this anime montage doesn't work properly when I'm moving. So now I'm going to make some changes inside my animation blueprint. So here I open up my animation blueprint, which in this case is abp_mani, and here I open up anim graph, and as you can see here I have these nodes inside my anim graph. First I disconnect this output pose, and I save all of these nodes to a cache. So here I drag a node and search for save new cache pose, and I name it default anim. Alright, now here I right click and search for my default anim cache, the cache that I just created, and here I drag a node and search for layered blend per bone, and I connect this one to here. And in this section I'm going to add a new bone name, just like this here, and here I should insert my this bone exactly. Let me show you here. I'm sorry. As you can see, this is my character mesh, and here I have this spine 1, which actually this bone, and I want this animation to be played from this bone above. So here I copy the name of this bone inside my animation blueprint. So here I go back to my animation blueprint, and here I insert name of this bone, which is spine underscore 01. Alright, and here again I get a copy of this cache default anim. Here I drag a node and search for default slot, and I connect it to here, and from here I can disconnect this default slot. Okay, now I compile and run the game again, and here as you can see, now this animation works perfectly when my character is moving. Okay, now I should go back to my character blueprint, which in this case is BP underscore third person character. Now from here, after this setting a static mesh to none, I drag a node from here and search for a spawn actor from class. But now I should create a class for my ball. So here I right click and I create a new blueprint class in type of actor, and I name it ball underscore BP. Now I open it up, and here I add a new static mesh and I name it ball, and here I insert my tennis ball model, and I decrease the scale to 0.15. and I also here I search for simulate physics, and I set simulate physics to true. Okay, now I compile and close this blueprint. Now and I go back to my character blueprint, and here I search for my ball blueprint. I insert my ball blueprint to this node, and now here I need a transform for this actor to be spawned. So here I right click and split this transform. Now I drag and drop my ball component, and here I drag a node and search for get word location. And I simply connect it to here. Now here I right click on this return value and I promote it to a variable, and I name it ball ref, which is a reference to my ball blueprint. And from here I drag a node and search for my ball static mesh. Which is actually the static mesh of the ball inside this ball actor. And from here I drag a node and search for add impulse, and I connect it to here. Okay, now I right click on this input and split it up. Now here I right click and search for get player camera manager. And from here I search for get camera rotation, and here I search for get forward vector. Alright, and from here I drag a node and I add a multiply node. Now I convert it to a float, and here I insert a for example 1200. And here I drag a node and search for brick vector, and now I connect x to x and y to y, and for the impulse z Again, from this forward vector, I drag a node and search for brick vector. And from this Z output, I drag a node and search for map range clamped. Here for in range A, I insert 0. For in range B, I insert 1. For out range A, I insert 3. And for out range B, I insert 10. And now I drag a node and multiply this by 150 and connect this output to impulse Z. And now from here I drag a node and search for set actor rotation. And here I right click and search for get control rotation. And now I connect it to here. And now I go back to here. From this play montage, here I insert my throwing anim montage. Okay, now I compile and run the game, and as you can see, if I hold G button, this pose will be played, and if I release, as you can see, my character throws this ball, but there is still a problem. Alright, here I have made a mistake. Here I should have multiplied it by 1200, but I added it to 1200. So here I drag a node and add a new multiply node. I convert it to a float, and here I insert 1200. I connect it here. Okay. Sorry. Okay, now it is correct. Alright, now as you can see, I can throw this object by pressing G, but now I'm going to create a prediction line trace for my object throwing. Now I go back to my character blueprint, and here from component section I hit this add icon and I add a new spline. Alright, and I drag and drop it on my ball component, so it will be child of my ball component. Now inside my event graph, I right click and I create a new custom event, and I name it draw curve. And here I drag a node and search for set timer by event, and I set time to 0.01 and I set looping to true. And from here I drag a node and I create a new custom event, and I name it update curve. Alright, and from here I drag a node and search for predict projectile path. Predict projectile path advance, and here I right click and split this predict params. For predict param start location, I get my ball component, and here I drag a node and search for get word location. and I connect it to here. And for this launch velocity, I right click here and split this up, and I'm going to use the same functionality that I used for this impulse power. So I copy all of these nodes from here with Ctrl C and Ctrl V here, and here I connect this X to X and Y to Y, and this one to Z. Now here I set predict param trace with collision to true, and from here I drag a node and search for make array, and here I drag a node and I add a reference to self, get a reference to self, just like this. And I set predict param sim frequency to 14, and also I set predict param draw debug time to 5 seconds, and here I set this draw debug type to for 1 frame. Okay, now I compile, but before running the game, here in this section, after this play montage, after pressing G button, here I drag a node and I insert message to this event, draw curve. Here I search for draw curve. Okay, now I compile and run the game. As you can see, I have this debug sphere as my projectile prediction throw prediction path, but I'm going to replace some mesh to these debug spheres. Okay, now I go back to my character blueprint, and now from here, this predict result, I drag a node and search for brick projectile path result, and from here I drag a node and search for each loop, and I connect this one to here. Alright, and from here I drag a node and search for brick predict projectile path point data, and now I drag and drop my Spline component here. I drag a node and I search for add a spline point, and I connect it to the loop body of this for each loop, and I connect this location to position input, and I also set this coordinate space to word. And now from the completed execution pin of this for each loop, I drag a node from here and I search for loop. Okay, and here I set first index to 1, and now I drag and drop my spline component, and here I drag a node and search for get number of spline points. And I connect it to input of last index. And now from here I drag a node and search for add component spline mesh. Add a spline component. Okay, now I'm going to create some mesh to be used for this spline. So here I go back to my viewport of engine, and here I activate modeling mode, and here I insert a new sphere to my level, just like this. I set radius to 5. Okay, and I hit this accept, and as you can see, this will be generated inside this folder named generated, and here I rename it to draw a sphere, for example. For example, you can insert some material to this mesh if you want, just like this. And now I go back to my character blueprint. But here I have made a little mistake and I inserted wrong node, so I delete it, and here again I drag a node from loop body and I search for add component spline mesh. Sorry, mesh add a spline mesh component, this node exactly. And here I insert my draw sphere, the mesh that I just created, and here I also set this manual attachment to true, and I also promote it to a variable, and I name it spline mesh. And here I convert it to an array. Okay, now I remove it, and again I get this variable from here, and here I drag a node and search for add, and I connect it to here, and I'll also connect this one to here, and from here I drag a node and search for add start and end. Sorry, set start and end, this node exactly, and I connect this one to here. Okay, now from this index of this for loop, here I drag a node and I search for get location and tangent at a spline point. Location, I like this one. And here first I set coordinate space to word, and I simply connect location to a start pose and this tangent to a start tangent. Alright, and here I get a copy of this node and paste it here, and again I connect this one to here, and for point index. I drag a node from the index of this for loop, and this time I add it to 1 and I connect it here. Now from this location I drag a node and search for lerp vector, and I also connect this location to here, and I set alpha to 0.5 and I connect it to endpose, and again I create a copy of this node and I do the same process for tangent. I connect this tangent to here and this one to here, and I connect it to here. Alright, now here I create another custom event and I name it clear spline. Clear spline. Alright, and now I get my spline mesh, and here I drag a node and search for destroy component, and before that make sure the context sensitive is turned off. Okay, and here I drag a node and search for clear. And now I get my spline component, and here I drag a node and search for clear spline point. And I connect it to here. Now I go back here in this section, and here first I disconnect this node, and here I call clear spline event, and I connect it to here again. And here I also promote the return value of this timer to a variable. I promote it to a variable and I name it spline timer, for example. And now I go back here after this play montage of throwing object. First I disconnect this node, and here I drag and drop my spline timer variable, and here I drag a node and search for clear and invalidate timer by handle. Alright, and after this node here again I search for my clear spline event. I insert this here, and then I connect this to this node. Alright, now I compile, but before running the game I turn this draw debug type to none. I set it to none, and now I compile and run the game. And now if I try to throw this ball, as you can see here I have this prediction line just like this, but in this case my character doesn't have any aim offset. But if you want to know how to create aim offset for your character in Unreal Engine, you can check out the tutorial that I linked in the description. But there is still a problem I have with this prediction path, and that is the shadow that you see in the video. So here now I open up my character blueprint, and here I select this node, add a spline mesh component, and here I search for cast shadow, and I set it to false. Now I compile and run the game again, and here as you can see Now I don't have any shadow for my prediction path. Alright, if this tutorial was useful for you, please like this video and subscribe my channel. Thank you.